This is another live broadcast,
It is.
and we had some people reach out, tell us what they wanted to talk about, and the majority rules on this one. And we're going to be talking about hiring assistants,
Yep.
the process of finding them, determining if you need one, what to look for,
Yep.
so on and so forth.
Exactly. It seems like we're in real estate, so obviously it's a question that comes up quite a bit in our industry and amongst realtors, but also in any other business that you're running. Obviously, at some point, you really want some help. So we kind of want to go through what our experience has been and what we've learned. So I think the first thing is to figure out what kind of help that you need. Everybody's got different activities that they're doing, and a good first step is to look at your calendar, audit your calendar, and figure out where you're spending your time and what kind of tasks you prefer to delegate to somebody else.
I think, yeah, and I mean, even stripping it down more than that, determine whether and why you think you need the help. Like look at everything. I think everybody could use help at any point in time, but whether or not you actually need an assistant, to me at least, is the first step. There's a cost associated with it, and try to establish the reasons you're feeling stressed out. Or maybe it's not even that you're stressed out, it's just that you feel like your time is better spent and more profitable and more efficient elsewhere.
Definitely.
But let's assume you've done all that.
Yes.
And so back to you.
So yeah, you look at your calendar, you look at what you're spending your time on. Are you going to read these questions?
I'm trying to read them. Yeah. So you talk, I'll read, and then I'll jump in.
All right. So look at your calendar. What are you spending your time on? I can give you an example for real estate. There's a lot of paperwork going on with different transactions and what you're doing. And maybe you need some help with just managing that process. Make sure you're submitting everything in on time. Maybe it's marketing. Maybe it's branding. I think in real estate, especially these days, it's not necessarily the transaction that you guys need help with. It's more the business side of things. And maybe it could be accounting. So there's different avenues and there's different strengths that each one of us has as a business owner, and you need to figure out what your strengths are and which ones that you want to delegate to other people. And that's kind of where you start. And then you figure out, okay, based on that, how long do I need somebody for in a given week? You don't have to hire somebody for 40 hours a week right off the bat. It's very easy to hire somebody on a part-time basis or on an hourly basis or on a project basis. If you're looking for branding, for example, you might not necessarily need somebody that is full-time. So that's that. Giving me a look.
Roll along. While you were talking,
yes,
Aleem pointed out that he needs someone to do his paperwork while he's browsing Instagram.
Oh, okay.
So some people need people to browse Instagram for them so they can do their paperwork.
Okay.
But I think, to your point, I'm not really going to say much more than you said there. It's establishing your needs. But it's not always necessarily about the tangible stuff. It's a lot, and I guess this is the next step, is establishing the type of person that you want to work with as well. So, there's the hard timeline and stuff, the what, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk about the who, for us, as an example, I mean, we were all over the place. We're starting and have started a new business and opening a new office, and it wasn't necessarily the paperwork.
No.
But we also didn't really know, other than someone to help us move along. Some of it was marketing, some of it was otherwise, but I know for us, the key was someone who was going to be detail oriented and willing to be thrown into all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Which we didn't know what that stuff was going to be.
Right. So we needed somebody, that could roll with the punches. And a lot of advice that we got from people was hire somebody that has that real estate background, that knows what they're doing. And we wanted to kind of go against the grain, and we thought, you know what, somebody that has been in real estate has probably been trained on certain systems that we don't follow. And so bringing somebody in that doesn't have so much of that background allowed us to train in the way that we wanted, and also get a different perspective from somebody that's been in other industries, which is always really helpful.
Especially, I mean, in our case, our brand is one that, is not trying to change the mold, but it is a bit new and different. And it was especially important to have someone who could grow with us and didn't have an established perspective on things. It's very similar. Like, this is how, you probably know, this is how I've hired in the past. When I was with the Argos, I ran the sales department there, and everybody who ever worked for a football team sales department came from the same sports marketing, football training thing.
Yeah.
And I made a point of not hiring those people because that wasn't what I was looking for. Not everyone wants a cookie cutter hire. It's okay if you do.
Yeah.
So establish what's important to you. If you want someone who knows real estate as well as you do or better, go for it. You know, there's some people who really would rather just focus on relationship building and sales and marketing and all that and the technical stuff. You know, Aleem, you want someone to do your paperwork? It's probably better to have someone who is familiar with it. However, it's also important to note that there's a lot of things that can be taught and there's certain things that can't be taught. So personality, fit, culture, you know, people grow with you, but you want to be able to grab somebody and work with somebody who aligns with the way you want to work.
Yeah.
And that isn't as easily taught as how to fill out, you know, a buyer representation agreement or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people I know use the DISC profile to understand who exactly is applying for the job and see what their strengths and weaknesses is and what the weaknesses are and what makes them tick and that kind of stuff. So that's a good idea. There's really easy online quizzes that you can take and that you can send to prospective applicants to find out exactly the type of person they are.
And in the description, however, and we can talk about different ways. I mean, there's a million different ways to get the word out there, but when you actually lay out the position, don't just bullet point tasks, right? Do that because there's things that are important to you. But if there's certain attributes or certain things you're looking for, try to work those in. Be creative, because the same way you want to stand out as a, you know, as an entrepreneur, as a realtor, as a salesperson, as a brand, you know, to your prospective clients, you want to be able to stand out to the right applicant at the same time. If you're trying to find that certain somebody, don't be like everybody else, or you're going to get the people who are like everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. In our case, and if anybody wants to see, for example, the job description that we put out there, because we have a superstar woman working with us who is a perfect fit. And that's, I think, in a large part due to the process in the beginning. When we laid it out there, we had a bit of a unique job description. Just give us your email address. We'll send it over to you so you can look it over and get an idea of what we did for that.
Yeah. No, it was really helpful. And within the job description, I think it's really important, similar to what you said, but just be very specific about what you're looking for, but also give very specific directions as to how you want that individual to apply. So for example, in ours, we told people in the subject line to say, I found my type of peeps. I think it was something like that, like something kind of, something
there's
like
no
that.
Swearing, but it also wasn't, you know, generic stuff.
So, and it was hidden within the entire description. So if somebody isn't detail oriented, they're not going to find that. They're just going to send their resume because they see the type of job they're applying for, and that's it. And we completely ruled people out that didn't have that title or that subject line because it was obvious that they didn't have enough attention to detail that we needed.
To put it into perspective too, just what that looked like, there were nearly, if not, I think there might have been 100 applications. And to people who are just joining, we're maybe both stuttering. There's two different cameras going. So if I'm not looking at you, then I'm looking at you. And if I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at you. But there were about 100 applications. And of the 100, what was it, 20, 25 actually followed the instructions. You know, I guess it wasn't simple. I'd like to think it was simple, but it was dependent on being detail oriented. And so right away, boom, 75% of the applications
it made it very
removed.
easy for us to narrow things down.
Because that's important too. You know, people might think it's really hard. There's lots of people out there looking, and there's lots of people who would, you know, think that they're a good fit for different positions. But you shouldn't have to weed through 75 that aren't a fit. You're already looking for help with your time.
Yeah.
Right? So
and you can hire a recruiter if you want. That's an option.
You can
if you want to. And another thing we added to the job description was telling people it wasn't necessary, but we asked them if they could put a video together as to why they wanted to apply for this position. And that just spoke to their video skills. Video is huge for us. So obviously we wanted somebody that was used to and comfortable with video, and that helped us as well.
Yeah, and that also ties into two things. One is it allowed us to get even more information about the person, about their personality, because resumes and videos and interviews and all that, they play both ways. But the key is, for us at least, and I think for most people, you want to see somebody's real, authentic self.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they're not a fit, it's for everyone's best interest not to hire them and that they don't get the job. And so video was one nice way of doing that. But we also, in the interest of time and saving everybody travel and all that, the first round, once we weeded down, the 20, 25 resumes that were left, was we picked a few to just do a phone interview. And actually it was 7 or 8 people, I want to say.
Yeah, maybe 6. Yeah.
Maybe 6. 7 or 8, maybe 6.5.
Maybe we hung up on a couple.
Yeah, no, maybe there's, exactly. Whatever. But it was, it was the gradual weeding down. The job description process itself weeded out 75%.
Yeah.
We cut that down another 75%.
Yeah.
And then rather than meeting people, we said, let's just get to know and talk to people, because that gave us a further feeling about who we're dealing with and whether they're a fit and whether we can communicate.
And what their phone skills were like.
But yeah, phone skills, which is funny sidebar.
We don't have a phone.
We don't even have a phone in the office.
Yeah.
So phone skills, although we thought they'd be really important, and they are. Communication skills are important, but on the phone, not so much.
Yeah.
But then from there, I mean, it was still not necessarily cut and dry, but we definitely knew who wouldn't be a fit. And I think that, at least in the early stages, is the most important thing, is to be able to easily, especially when you have a lot of applications, get rid of as many as possible. Because if they're not like a shortlister off the beginning, they're not going to be a shortlister at the end. Right?
Yeah. And be really real in your job description. Like, this is your moment to be extremely truthful about what the job entails. And if you don't know what the job is exactly going to entail, say that. We were very comfortable in saying that because we were just starting this brokerage. We had no idea what kind of tasks that our assistant would be up against. So we said, you have to be able to roll with the punches and, be open to different challenges. And that really helped. And so then when you're giving people instructions and telling them like their next task is to do this, you don't feel guilty, because you're very upfront in the beginning.
Absolutely.
That it could be anything. So enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Hey Gus, I see Gus is saying hi.
Oh yeah, so. I was going to say that before.
It's very small writing, but I'm trying to see more on there. I see happy faces, which is better than sad faces. That's true. But anyway, so I mean, the life cycle of this is pretty self-explanatory from there. We met, I think, 2 or 3 of the
We can talk about where we posted, because I feel as though a company like Indeed, was it Indeed or ZipRecruiter?
We used both.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because they all talk to each other. In the end, we kind of learned the ecosystem is that all these recruiting sites, they're just one big pool.
But versus Facebook, I found the quality of the people that were applying through those other, like the Indeed and the ZipRecruiter, were far better than Facebook. I don't know if you felt the same way. Yeah. I felt like Facebook, you kind of got inundated with a lot of crap.
Oh yeah, well Facebook was garbage. Yeah. So like one against the other. I think with anywhere you go though, you're always going to get blanket application people, and you can see those right away. So that when you take those out, the people that just kind of copy pasted the same resume, and it's easy for someone to think that this is a role that should have a standardized application to it, but especially in our case, it did not. It was very custom.
Yeah.
And if someone wasn't going to take the time to actually speak to what we were saying, that's a bad first step, right? And that's where a lot of people disappeared.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay.
I was just going to jump in that like a common question I've seen in a lot of real estate threads is people are worried, like what happens if I don't have enough work for that person in a week? I've hired them for 30 hours and they've only got 20 hours. And I think if you've done a good job hiring to begin with, that person will take it upon themselves to look to help you in other ways. So maybe I think with an assistant especially, that's your opportunity to establish systems within your business. Systems are something that get easily forgotten through the shuffle. You're doing your everyday business, you're making money, you're trying to stay afloat, and the systems kind of take a back seat to all of those necessary things that you need to do every day. So when you have an assistant, maybe they're not working on like paperwork or transactions or emails or whatever it is that day. They can go to those big goals that you have set out for yourself and create more systems that will help you be successful.
And they need to be part of the system. Like the system includes you. It includes like this is growing a business. The idea, I would think, of getting an assistant is that you want to get bigger or you're at capacity. Trying to grow what you're doing, you need to have like the assistant situation is part of the system. That's one key part of having a system in the background. The other thing is, and we've talked about this before, don't be so anti-delegation. Don't be so protective of what only you can do, right? It's a tough thing, especially for entrepreneurs. Everyone thinks they should be everything to everybody. They should be micromanaging every piece of the process. And it's a challenge for us, all the time. But the more you're able to let go and, trust that you've got really talented people working around you, that's the whole point. Like the definition of assist is help, right? It's not just be there. It's not sit.
It's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about looking to hire an assistant?
I'm available.
Yeah. But I from what I've heard from most people is the moment they've hired an assistant, their business has taken has jumped considerably, because a lot of the stuff that they're wasting their time on that can be easily delegated just comes off their plate, and they can focus on what they're really good at, and that's building their business.
Yeah, and I think the last piece to it is once the person's with you, make sure, again, it all depends on situations, but make sure they're part of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, they're ingrained in the culture.
Especially if you're a small operation, right? Because the same way you don't want to let go of processes that you do, you might also even more so not want to let go of the ideas or what you think is best or what you think is the way to go. And the more perspectives of people who are in it with you and are seeing it from another angle, it's only good things. It doesn't mean you have to do everything that other people say, but we clearly don't know everything. We've had all kinds of stumbling points, and we continue to make decisions that are right. But we make good ones too. And the more we involve other people, the more we at least can look at it from multiple angles. So
exactly. All right.
Right on.
Right on.
Okay, we're getting a lot of happy faces, which is nice. Smiley faces.
Jen is laughing at us, I think.
Is that a laugh?
Yeah, it's a laughing face.
Okay, it's too small. I can't see that far.
So yeah, thanks for tuning in. We are on Spotify, iTunes, Apple. If you want to tune into the audio version of this podcast, it will be posted tomorrow. It's called Balance, and we have all the links up in our own profiles as well as on the blog profile.
If you want any of that stuff sent, just give us your email address. We can send you some of the stuff
description
that we've actually done out there in the real world.
Exactly.
And don't ask who's here, even though you follow us on Instagram, because we have the best assistant already. So get your own.
Stay away. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Bye.